Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for being out here. Practice number 4 today after a day off yesterday. And we've really demanded a lot of these guys in the off season and certainly during the start of camp. And we feel like we're elevating the culture. But we also have entered camp knowing that there's a lot of things that we want to get better at. And we want to be hungry in our approach to camp. We want to really just shut out the outside world and the noise and get to work at the things that are important in getting better as a football team. And, guys like Lamar and Troy, Justin, the list goes on and on. They've done a great job doing that. So, but with that being said, open to questions.
Brendan wasn't here today. What's his status? What's going on there?
Brendan hurt his foot, and he hurt it pretty good. He had a procedure done yesterday. Okay, so he will be. It'll probably be 6 weeks optimistically, 8 weeks realistically before he's back.
So with Johnny was there today, but Josh was obviously pushing at that flanker spot in the spring. Is that now? I mean, we talked about it even before this back in LA at Media Day that he could push for the starting job. Do you now view a true freshman as a potential starter for this?
The way these guys have rotated, they've gotten equal reps across the board. So, Johnny's done a really good job. Jalen's done a good job. Obviously, Jawan, Micah, Josh Delgado. It's, we feel strong about the way that position has developed. And I hate to limit a guy to a certain position right now, but you're right on the money. I mean, people are going to push because of the way that they're playing. And the opportunity that has presented itself, with an injury. So, and I'll tell you what, the thing about Brendan, he's not only a great player, he's a great leader. And feel terrible for him because we all do, because tremendous human being, off the charts. It means a lot to the guys out there. And knowing him, he's probably trying to squat and run today, but he will try to get back as fast as he can. He will, because he's that type of guy. But he'll be around because his leadership is going to be needed. His mentorship in that room will be needed. But certainly it's a tough one to take because of what he means to this team, personally.
The impact is most on the receivers, but he was huge on special teams.
Yes, he
took that tumble on Saturday. Was the injury on that tumble on the as a gunner? Because he practiced thereafter, but did that happen actually on the fall as a gunner? Because it looked like he got knocked from behind.
No. He, it probably happened a few snaps earlier than he came out, and. It's one of those unfortunate things. It's camp, and sometimes these things happen unforeseen, nothing. It wasn't a nasty hit or something like that. Just sometimes you plant, and sometimes things give a little bit, and unfortunately it did. But he'll be back. He'll be back.
He was a first-team special teams player 2 years in a row. How does that impact who replaces him, or who are the guys that are in line to maybe help until he gets back?
Without a doubt. If you watch his production on special teams, it is mind-blowing. He's in on every tackle. He's a tremendous blocker. We've worked him as a returner as well. That's how valuable he is. So we do have a lot of bodies now, and certainly for the first time in a while we have 85 scholarships operating. So everybody's getting a look. We do have some really athletic, long body types that could run, and they have a great mentor to be coached by as well. Some great film to watch. So when we rep special teams, we're going all the way. We're going 4 deep and finding out what are the best pieces and trying to make sure that we can really enter a game at least 2.5 deep. So finding 27, 28 guys that can roll.
Coach, I realize you have competition at every position, but are there any positions where you're especially excited and just are absolutely unsure of who's going to emerge on top of that group?
I love the way we're competing in practice. So if you didn't know, if numbers were off the jerseys right there, it'd be hard to tell who's competing. It'd be tough to say, well, who's an incumbent guy and who's fighting for a spot and who's a freshman. It's been open season for spots, and am I excited for a particular spot? Man, that's a tough question. I'd hate to discriminate against all the guys that are really working hard and doing a good job. It's just that, and I say from a cultural standpoint, just the way we've attacked the grind. That's what I'm excited about.
You don't want to single out at the expense of others.
It's just hard to say because there's so many guys that, they find themselves, even though they're 2 and 3 year starters, but there's a really good player that's right there, chomping at their heels. And that's the way it should be. We owe that to the guy that's been starting for 2 and 3 years, right? We have to find a way to get him better, and that's a great way to get him better. Make sure that, there's someone right there to always push. And we're seeing that in a lot of spots.
Thomas Graham said that Michael Wright was one of those guys who was pushing him for reps. He said he thinks he should be a freshman All-American. What have you seen out of him?
Well, I think he has a talent that, but I think throwing out, I think maybe he should hire Thomas as his agent when it's time for a comment like that. But, I think you have to play the game to receive those type of, you know, I would say even compliments. Now that being said, love Mikael Wright's ability, his approach to the game. He wants to be a great player. His teammates really respect him because they've seen what he's done in such a short period of time. He's changed his body too. He's gained about 10 pounds. He's running faster. He's more explosive. He's more comfortable with the scheme. So we see a huge future for Mikael, and we see a tremendously impactful season out of him as well.
So David and Justin Johnson also limited today.
Mm-hmm.
One, what's their status? And two, did that mean DJ James taking reps as the backup boundary safe
It
corner?
did. He got more reps today. I think David will be back tomorrow, and so will Justin. Don't foresee anything too bad. Carlberg tweaked his ankle, but not in a bad way. I think he'll be maybe limited tomorrow, but full go right after that. I think the other one that might have taken a hit, maybe Navarez, but
You got a second-team secondary with a lot of freshmen there.
Yep.
That's DJ, that's Mikael, that's Hockey, all right, but he's alternating with Barone. I mean, you got a lot of freshmen there on that second line, that depth chart.
and that's why we recruited so many guys. And that's why we need so many guys the next year as well. It's kind of the roster stacked in a different kind of way. There's upperclassmen that have played, and then there's a space there. From a junior, sophomore standpoint, there's a lot of freshmen that are going to see a lot of action. So this last class, this next class, these are all very important. These are guys that have to come in here and play, and that's what we see ourselves doing.
Where do you see Hockey's role this year? He's a guy that's been around the world and back, and to get to this
literally,
spot. Yeah.
He has. And sometimes I feel like he's still traveling. He's a great guy. He's just, he's bringing some great energy to the table. He's playing the nickel position. He's playing the corner position. He's played some safety. He's so long and rangy. He hit 23 miles per hour on the GPS, which is really high. So his top end speed is through the roof. And he's a guy that's finally had a full year to develop in a system, and what he's doing this year has some similarities and carryover from what he had in previous seasons. So we're excited about Hockey. He's been very productive, and he's been very good on special teams as well. So we see a really productive season for him as a senior.
How have you seen CJ Verdell elevate his game from last season to this?
I think a lot of people fail to realize we had 2 freshmen in the backfield. I don't know who else had that in the country. And one rushed for 1,000. The other one rushed for 700. I think CJ also had 300 yards worth of reception yards, I should say. So you're looking at 2 guys that their bodies are now different. They've seen things live probably 700, 800 times. And training those things right there for a running back at the speed, right, at full speed against major competition is the best type of development they can have. Well, they've seen it. Okay, they've seen it at home. They've seen it in tough environments. And I think as a back, when you get that plus an off season under your belt, you usually take a pretty big step. They're confident with their offensive line. I tell them all the time, you got to take those guys out to eat more. Get them coupons for pizza, whatever it may be. But those guys are, in our opinion, we feel they're as good as there is in the conference.
Mace is a really different body type for that outside edge capacity. When was the decision made that was where he's going to be, and just how different is he compared to some other guys who are in the 230s, 240s, and he's pushing 270?
He's a great football player, extremely physical. He can stop the run. He's a natural pass rusher. He played it in high school. For us, we got to get him on the field as early as we can and as often as we can, and we felt that that's the best way to do it right now this year. So he's trimmed down. He's trimmed down about 260, and we just see he's going to have a tremendous impact right away as well.
First day in pads tomorrow, what are you looking for?
Well, we've been the way we practice in shells, you might as well be in full pads. It's just, we try to stay off the ground regardless. The intensity will be dialed up even more. I thought that the practice that we had on, I forget what, is this today, Tuesday?
Yep.
Okay, so Sunday was before. It's Groundhog Day. You got to help me out here. Okay, so Sunday in pads, the intensity behind that practice was through the roof. And today, as practice went on, it just got more and more physical. Tomorrow, we're in full gear. We expect it to go up again. Again, our guys, we have to establish a mentality. And we could talk about it all we want. We could bring in 1,000 people to show exhibits on we have to do it again and again and again. And so these conferences might be a little bit boring because I'm going to say the same stuff again and again. But our players have to do it again and again and again. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right? Just got to keep doing it, and to get the expected and the result that we want.
Bryce and Gus are two guys that have been around a long time, obviously been through several defenses. Have they developed, or is this just the best fit for them?
They have. Well, I think both. I think both. I think when you have two guys that are that long, that athletic, that explosive, you have to, they deserve an opportunity. And they've certainly gotten that now. They're making the most of it. They've both made some really big plays. And Gus made some big plays last year when he got his opportunities too. But we have to force the issue to get guys like that on the field. And they do not disappoint because they have relentless motors. And when you have that, when you have attention to detail and a high desire to achieve, you're going to do well, and that's what they do.